So this is our 60-minute yin class. Yay! So again, any props you need, we'll do that. We're gonna get started in any comfortable position that feels good for you. So crisscross applesauce, legs up against the wall, on the back, on the belly. I will be avoiding on the belly, but feel free if anybody else wants to be on the belly to go there. And just find that place that feels comfortable to you. Whether you want, you can also be up against a wall. That can be really nice for back support. So take a couple of breaths to get where you're at. Feel free to close the eyes or find a soft point for your gaze. Whatever works. Hello, kitty cat. And let's just take a couple of deep, slow breaths in through the nose. And exhale, open the mouth, sigh it out, let it go. Full, deep, slow breath in through the nose. And exhale, sigh it out, let it go. One final time here, breath in. And breath out. Orienting yourself in space and time. The space being here, hey Victoria, and the time being now. So taking a moment to just let the distractions of the outside world or other forms of technology start to fade around us. As we bring ourselves onto our mat and in this moment, I invite you to pause here. As we'll take time to acknowledge the stewards of the land we're currently on. So the stewards who've come before us in the land that we are on. In Washington, D.C., we are on Anacostan land. And throughout our practice, and in particular and in this moment, we take time to honor and acknowledge the indigenous yoga teachers who've come before us, who've brought us this practice so that we may be able to embody it today. So we honor the teachers from India, Pakistan, and even from Africa. Taking a moment to loosen the grip of any part of your body that you're really clenching onto. Begin to ask yourself how you're feeling today physically. What do you notice about the fingers and the toes and the hands and the feet? Where do you seem to be holding the most tension physically? Where do you appear to be the most open? How do you feel left to right, top to bottom, front to back? And as we start to take this observation, I want to just gently remind you that it is an observation without judgment, an observation without a right or a wrong answer. This is just knowledge for ourselves as we start to embark on the journey today on our mat. We acknowledge what is happening physically in the body. Begin to check in with our breath. Noting how the breath is interacting with our body. Where is it starting? Where is it stopping? How does the breath feel today? Is it shallow? Is it heavy? Is it comfortable or uncomfortable? I even invite you to maybe notice if this is the first time if you've paid attention to your breath and what that attention brings to the quality of the breath. Try not to change anything. Worry about if you're doing anything right or wrong. Just continue to breathe naturally, noticing how you feel. And as you're ready, start to draw your attention to your mind, to your thoughts. And begin to invite you to notice how the thoughts are flowing in the body, flowing through the mind. Is there a big traffic jam, a big conglomeration of thoughts? Or do the thoughts seem to be easily moving in and out? You may even begin to note how the thoughts are affecting the body physically, even emotionally, how they may be affecting the breath. And we're going to start to draw the connection between breath, body, and mind by moving our breath up and down along the spine. If it feels comfortable for you, I invite you to start to take a deep diaphragmatic breath. So feeling the breath enter in through the nose as it moves down toward the base of the spine. And the base of the spine houses our Muladhara chakra, our root chakra. And as you breathe out, feel that breath travel from our root all the way up to the crown of the head along the spine. So moving the breath and energy along our central energy channel, our Shushonda Nadi, igniting all the other chakras along that path. And as you continue along that breath, one, if you find that a deep diaphragmatic breath is bringing up any feelings of anxiety or anything else uncomfortable that just doesn't call to you today, suspend that deeper breath and just focus on a natural inhale and exhale. We want to work with the breath where it's at today and with all of our shapes. But no matter which breath you're taking, we invite you to start to, as you breathe in, feel a bit more rooted to the earth. So as if you're drawing energy and opening up your Muladhara chakra. Again, our root chakra at the base of the spine. The world may have been a little crazy over the past 6 months. And this might be the first chance, or today, or in that time, that we've really started to feel grounded. So each inhale sinks you into the earth. And as you exhale, it starts to extend your roots down into the ground. You need to imagine your growing roots as if you're a tree. With every breath you take, just noticing the sensations in the body. We're going to change the breath just slightly to move it completely in the body, still rooting in the base of our spine and into the earth and into everything that is touching the ground. So as you inhale, you're going to feel the breath start at the base of the spine, at your Muladhara chakra, as it travels up through the belly button, past the sternum, the jugular knot, the third eye center, back to the crown of the head and the midbrain. And then on your exhale, you're going to feel the breath, feel that energy travel from the middle of the brain, the crown of our head, all the way down the back side of the spine. So through C7, the thoracic spine, to our root once again. Noticing how even that change in the direction and focus of the breath may have changed the sensations in the body. We'll be here for about another minute or so. Continue to find your breath. You might even begin to visualize your breath as it moves in this orbital fashion. For me personally, I like to bring up images of the planets, very solar system-y, as my breath moves in that way. And taking your time, start to invite some just gentle movement back into the body. Staying with your breath, we will have an opportunity to return to this orbital breath. But if you need to let it go for right now, that's fine. And slowly begin to awaken the body and find your way to a comfortable seat. You may wish to have a blanket or a pillow for our first shape. And no rush to get there. If you're like, I'm really good in my comfortable seat in the breathing, then that's fine. Then that's your yoga today, and that's what you need. So when you're ready, we're going to come into our first shape. We're going to come into a straddle pose. So we'll bring our legs out as wide as they want to go. With anything we do in Yin, it's about meeting yourself where you're at in the moment, not forcing anything. I'm sure you've all missed hearing me say that in the past few months. So again, bringing your legs out as wide as they want to go. The focus is going to be on the inner legs. So the adductor muscles, a little bit of the meniscus, and maybe even into the calf, depending on where your tightness lies in your body. A couple of things of note. One, if you have any challenges with the knees, any problems with the knees, consider putting a slight bend in them, and you might even place your blocks underneath your knees, okay? That'll help relieve some of the stretch you'll feel in the meniscus. If you're sitting here and you find that the hips are tilting you back, so if you're naturally at a posterior tilt, consider sitting up on a block or a block, pillow, or a blanket to help lift the hips above the knees so we can find that hinge from the hip joint. From here, and you can use your pillow or your blanket as almost a bolster. It's a great thing. We've got all these things now. And you'll just start to lean forward to whatever feels best for you. So if the feet naturally turn in, that's cool. Let them turn in. If they naturally want to open up more externally, go ahead and focus on that. Notice if you're holding tension in the feet. And see if you can maybe wiggle the fingers and toes and let go of that. So start to settle in here, and I'll give you a bit more background on this shape and how it relates to our Muladhara chakra. But take a couple of breaths, start to settle in. Allow yourself to be here. We'll be here for about 5 minutes, and I tell you that so you don't feel like you have to go full out into the shape, and that you have an understanding how long we're going to be here. It's also important to ease into the shape. So take your time. You've got plenty of time. Let the body loosen up. Let the fascia do what it wants to do. And allow the breath to flow through the body. Doing your best to find stillness. Some days that's really easy and other days that's really challenging. So if the body is inviting you to move, do so mindfully. Okay? And maybe take a moment to pause and go, why is it inviting me to move? Do I need to move excess energy around, or is it nerves, or is it pain, or is I'm just being challenged today through the discomfort? So here in this shape, the Muladhara chakra, our root chakra, again, it's what grounds us down. It's what helps us create that connection to all that is around us, in particular the earth. It can be housed sometimes physically in the adductor muscles and in the piriformis muscle. So that one of those fun muscles in our glutes, it's the muscle that wraps around the sciatic nerve. So we'll be targeting those muscle groups today. And that's just through, according to my teacher, Susanna Barkataki, it's just through years of observation by various yoga teachers in practices and studies. So we'll be focusing on that today. Continue to find your breath. And feel free to let the spine round. Let the back round, let the neck hang as it will. You can even rest the head in the hands, like on your fists, or cup your hands. You can even curl something up so you've got a soft place to rest your head. If you haven't already done so, I invite you back to your orbital breath. So letting every breath reconnect you to the root, even as you move the energy up through all of the chakras into the crown of the head. Continue to feel that connection. And that's going to change for every person. Just start to notice what that sensation feels like for you and in your body. I'm going to be quiet for the remaining 2 minutes. You all have been doing great, knowing that at any time you can come out of the shape if you need to. And wherever you're at, on your next exhale, slowly begin to rise on up. Take your time. If movement calls to you here, feel free to take the movement that calls to you. And you don't have to be constrained by any particular yoga pose, any particular space. Feel free to, if you want to come into a down dog, or maybe you just use your hands to help the knees come up as you move them back and forth. There could be other movement. So feel free to free form that movement. And then as you're ready, find your way into your puddle pose on your back, on your belly, on your side. And you can even take puddle pose seated or in child's pose. So finding the place where you can observe and check in, where you have the most stillness and even a little bit of extra rest. So rest is something we need to practice. It's really challenging. I have a hard time resting, as I'm sure many of us do. And so let's let that be the opportunity here. How can we rest? How can we just be right now? And check back in and notice how we're feeling. As you're ready, seeing how slow and gentle and mindful you can move, begin to roll onto your favorite side today. Maybe even pausing here to give yourself a really big hug or notice the breath. And then in your time, in your space, you'll just make your way back to your comfortable seat. And so from here, when you're ready, no rush, continue to listen if you're still taking your time getting up. We're going to come into caterpillar pose. So our legs will be out long. The focus is hopefully on the hamstrings, because sometimes to get into the piriformis and other external rotations of the hips, we want to make sure that our hamstrings are feeling a little looser. Depending on what other physical activity you partake in, whether you're a runner or I don't know what else you've taken up, bar class, Zumba, all those things. Don't feel like your hamstrings have to be like super loosey-goosey. They could just be naturally tight due to how you sit or these other physical activities. So again, work with where you're at, not forcing anything. So legs out long. You can even bring a little bit of space in between the legs if you need to. Feel free to sit up on a block or a blanket as well to, again, find that anterior tilt. And then just start to lean forward. So we're working to feel the stretch along the back side of the body. And if you're feeling a pinch at like the hip bone, spreading the legs might create a bit more space so we can find that stretch along the back side of the legs. You may still feel that if you're here, but take that where you need to take it. Don't worry about gripping the hands on the feet to pull yourself forward. You don't need that. If you feel you need to do that like for a hot second, go ahead, but then let it go and let the sensation rest in the body. And this can also be really nice to help the low back as well. And you may notice any sensations that come up here. Your pillow can also be used as a place to rest your head. So we're going to be here, trying to bring the focus to that back side of the body. We just did the inside of the legs along the back side of the body. So hamstrings, low back. This might even be a nicer stretch on the neck than, say, staring down at your computer or your phone all day. So continue to be here. We'll be here for 5 minutes. And find your breath. As you settle into the shape, what do you notice? How have things changed? How is the body feeling physically, mentally, emotionally? How's your breath? Wherever you're at on your next exhale, slowly begin to walk your way back up. As you invite movement in, I'm going to offer up a suggestion of opening up the heart. We've done 2 forward folding things. You may bring your hand behind you, draw your shoulders back, and just lift the heart to the sky, and even drop the head back if it feels comfortable, to open up the front side of the body. So you might notice the change from the forward fold, from from that to the openness. And then as you're ready, just find a brief puddle pose. So once again, on your back or on your belly or seated, anything you need. And if you're like, I can't move back and forth between all that, that's fine. Just find your place of stillness, a place that's going to allow you to feel rooted once again into the earth, and notice the changing sensations in the body that happen after the shape. Taking your time, moving with your breath and within your body, begin to make your way once again up to your comfortable seat. And there's no rush. We got time. So if you're still continuing to move to that comfortable seat, take your time and just listen while I chat. We're going to move into a shape that is going to start to open up the hips externally and focus on that piriformis muscle in our glutes. So I've got 3 different variations that I'm going to offer up today so everybody can hopefully meet themselves where they're at. If I don't offer up a variation that's supportive to you, please let me know, and I'm happy. There's so many other options, and I apologize for the person out in my street who was blaring their horn. So our first option is going to be square pose or double pigeon. So to start, you can begin by bringing the calves parallel to one another. Today I'm actually starting on my right side because as we went through the other 2 shapes, I noticed my right side needed a bit more attention. You may notice that's your left side. If that's the case, just flip it to your left. It's totally fine. Ankle stacked on top of knee. You can always bring a block, pillow, or blanket underneath the knee and ankle if they're lifting up, just to bring those 2 spaces closer together. You can stay lifted, back can even go up against a wall, or you can fold forward, up to you. Second option, along that same seated area, is square pose. So you'd cross at the ankles, and then you'll move the ankles to the outer edges of your mat or your space, and then work the feet away from the body to create almost a square with the legs. It's not going to be perfectly square, so don't try. And then from here, it'll likely result in a folding forward just to start to feel that stretch along the outer edge of the hip and into that piriformis muscle. And then third option is completely on the back. It's a figure 4. If you have a wall nearby, I'd recommend using that, placing one foot up against the wall at about a 90-degree angle, give or take. And then you'll cross the other ankle over that. I'm not up against the wall because you can't really see my legs there for a second. So one ankle over the other thigh. If you don't want to use the wall, you can just bring your hands, interlace them behind, and draw this toward the body, flexing the feet as you'd like. So 3 options to suit, hopefully meet your needs where you're at. If you need another option, do not hesitate to ask. I'm full of them, and I'm happy to find ways to support you. Use what props you need. We don't want to completely let go of the discomfort because we do want the stretch to take place, but we don't want to be in pain, and props can support us in that. So we can ease into the shape and ease into what we're So we'll hold each side for roughly 4 minutes. And I'm going to invite you to tap back into your breath. We can use our breath to calm the fluctuations of the mind. So notice what happens. In your visualization of moving the breath from the root up and then back down. Help you stay here in this moment. Can it help calm the thoughts? As you're ready on your next exhale, slowly just start to transition out of this side. If movement calls to you, feel free to take that. Sometimes if you're seated, I like to just take the one foot that was on top that I was focusing on and just almost do like an air pedal to it, just to loosen up the hip, or take some seated hip circles. We're going to stack this shape just right on top of the next side. So pause for a moment if that's what you need. Always feel free to do that. And then we'll go ahead and we will switch sides. If you come into the side and you realize you need something different, so if you were in double pigeon and you need to switch to square or onto figure four, do that. You know, same thing with any of the other shapes. If you're like, oh, I want to do double pigeon here, and you were doing figure four, that's totally fine. Listen to your body. Sometimes the imbalances need different things so we can start to reach equilibrium. We don't have to be confined by one set of rules. So finding this shape here as you're ready. The last shape I said 4 minutes, we ended up holding it for about 5, so we'll do that here as well. My apologies. Just got really into the shape. So on your next exhale, as you come out of your shape, take what you need and find your puddle pose. You're back on your belly. Maybe you just want to come into another comfortable seat. Maybe come into your side. Maybe movement is what you need here. And then as you're ready, in your time, slowly invite you back up. For our final shape that we're going to take before we come to Savasana, again, a couple of options. First option is with little or no props. So you may want to use your blocks for this. We'll come into a reclined butterfly option to incorporate hands behind the back just to open up the heart here. So for a reclined butterfly, you can come onto your back, soles of the feet to touch, knees out wide. You may wish to place blocks underneath the knees here. Hands can remain on belly, or you can bring the hand bent into a broken wing. So you can come down, hand on the ground on both. So top of the hand is on the back. That's option one. Option two is using your blocks or pots and pans if you've got them, or board games or whatever, to create almost like a ramp, and you'll likely want a pillow here to do so. So for this, I've got the taller one for my head, one for the center of my shoulders, and then I'm going to place my pillow over that. Soles of the feet to touch once again, and then allow yourself to lean the upper body over. So you're going to feel an opening of the chest here too as well. Just thinking about going into the second half of our day from an open heart, as well as feeling rooted into the ground. So take what variation calls to you, take what you need. You can always do this up against the wall. So you bring the butterfly legs up against the wall and hands behind the back, just to find that little extra opening of the heart. So feel free to get set up, take what you need, and continue to find your breath here. As you come into this shape, what do you notice about the body, physically, mentally, emotionally, maybe even spiritually? Again, the answers are going to be different for every person. They could change from day to day, from moment to moment. But continue to check in with yourself. As you tap into either your orbital breath or your natural breath, notice how you feel rooted to the earth. Has that changed the senses? How can you move into the second half of your day leading from the heart, feeling grounded? And you don't have to think too hard about this. This may just come from a place of feeling peace and calm. It could be a whole plan for checking in with yourself. Maybe you're just led by the breath. Just see where things go. taking your time. Feel free to stay in this shape if that's what you'd like to do. Or feel free to come into a more traditional savasana on the back, on the belly, or even with legs up against the wall. Do what you need here. Let this last bit of rest truly serve you. And not reaching for the cell phone if you can. Taking this next 5 minutes just solely for you. Feel free to just let the breath return to a place that's more natural. Even letting any intense focus go. Maybe you invite several deep breaths in through the nose and the mouth if that feels good. Taking what you need, as always. Start to reawaken your senses. Inviting in some gentle movement. Wiggling fingers, wiggling toes. Taking your time, no rush. Just move and make your way to a comfortable seat. Let this be crisscross applesauce. Let this be legs extended out long, back up against the wall. Maybe you move to the chair, to the couch, whatever works for you. Or maybe you stay longer in Savasana. Taking a moment to pause wherever you're at, just to notice how you feel. See if you can carry this sense of awareness and checking in with you through the rest of your day and even into the weekend. How are you feeling physically? What do you notice about the breath? What is the mind doing? What sensations do you feel in the body? Even one step further, how is your joy? As we lift our hands to our heart space, we acknowledge one more time that the roots of yoga stem from the East, from India, from Pakistan, from Africa, from all of South Asia. We bow our heads in a moment of gratitude, first thanking ourselves for making time for our mat and for our practice today. And then sending gratitude to those who joined us to create this virtual community in this virtual space. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Peace, Peace, Peace. A deep bow to you all. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm excited to be back with everybody. I will be here next Thursday at noon. So yeah, let me know if you need anything, if you have any questions. I can stay on for a couple of minutes. But yeah.
Thanks, KJ.
Thanks, Meryl.
Thank you, KJ.
Thanks, Victoria. Thanks, Elise and Jess. It was good seeing everybody.
Good seeing you, KJ.